Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, as I have to switch that up. We're taking a look right now at a war that's happening, or I guess a skirmish between two kingdoms. Apparently it is, from what I'm being told, 91 versus 92 here in SSS1-25. Now, this is essentially Zone 1, or starting Zone 1 fights that are going on. It looks like we got TLGX going up against MTP2. And, however, this is pretty small scale, so I don't know how much necessary... And again, I'm coming in, I think, about 20-25 minutes late to when all of this started. But what I want to talk about, and bear in mind, this is not... we'll talk about a little bit of the fight, but I also want to briefly touch on and use this as an opportunity to talk about some of the recent changes that have been coming from the latest update of 1.0.17 Roots of War that are going to be making a kind of short-term band-aid change to the first 48 hours of Season 1 Plus for Stars Reignited, which is where we are right now. And again, you can see the four kingdoms here in this group, 91 through 94, where the first 48 hours, no one will be able to attack anyone, right? That's, you're not able to attack a city, can't attack a flag, can't attack a open field march, can't attack someone farming on a tile, but you will be able to freely build. And I think when we look at the idea behind this and what it can create, and some people have kind of already alluded to this a little bit, you know, we touched on this just a bit during our update video where we covered and talked about this. However, some of the real challenges, and I should say also CCAD and CCK in here with TLGX. But some of the real challenges when you think about what can happen in an early Zone 1 is that you could end up having it kind of be a build battle, right? On who can build the fastest. You could arguably have, for the first 48 hours, someone who places a CF down, and because they're able to build faster, they can effectively almost cut off someone else from building. They could also trap build them too as well. You could have someone that's flagging out and kind of puts them in a corner or something, right? That doesn't allow for them to move a lot. You could have someone that flags out across and almost establishes a half line so they can't go past it. Now again, 48 hours is only 2 days, so it's not as though they're going to be able to build hundreds of flags. You know, it's not necessarily saying that, or implying that, we should say. But I do think there are some advantages. You can even do things where, if you're factoring in the new collision system, right, you could have units that go around and encamp a player's city, and they could just leave them there, and then those players wouldn't be able to send out their troops to go and build or gather or anything, right? Because you can't do any attacking for 48 hours, so you're kind of trapped in that situation. Now, obviously, that would also be kind of hard to do to an extent. You probably would have to do something like running scout accounts. I'm not trying to give, or running additional like alt accounts, right? I'm not trying to give anyone ideas, but that's kind of like the extent of what you'd have to do if you don't want to give away your main account troops, because you obviously want to keep gathering, or you need to go out there and hit other darklings or do forts, etc. Right? So I don't think that, I don't think that would be too impactful. But it is something that could happen. And so, you know, I think when I look at everything happening, and the challenge here is that, again, right, you're putting 11, and we talked about this, right? So this is something I talked about in SSS1-25, which this is not SSS1-24, I believe, which is this one, or 28, right? Where you have S11 through 21, where you have 11 kingdoms there in one. That will be interesting to go and see, because I think they're having a little bit of early fights that are going on as well. SSS1-25, they just started their S1 Plus here, I think today, or it was last night. And so this, again, they haven't even been here for 24 hours thus far. On a side note, I would love if... Oh, and I guess you can see that here, right? It's at the minus from 67 hours. So they've been here, what, 20? No, not 20. 17 hours? 14? Yeah, right? About maybe 17 hours, if this is right. But what I would love for them to have, and this is something I'd love for them to do as well, I would love for them to have timers on, you know, like, sure, can I go here and I can go to season and I can say, okay, well, this starts at 70. So that means that, yeah, they probably have been in here for about, what, 16 and a half hours. so far? Sure. But would I rather have a timer on how long the kingdom's been open for? Yeah. Like, I'd love something that's counting from 0 going up. That would be my addition to, kind of where we're at. So, but anyways, you basically have at this point, which is CK and TLGX kind of going through the MTP territory. And this is a tactic we've seen done a couple times, right? Where you're kind of going deep in territory. You're trying to see if there's any type of resistance that you might get or additional players that might come out and fight, so that way. And in this situation where MTP, I don't really know what this person's doing. I mean, you have some units that are out here and fighting, but I don't know why you're just kind of going along. Maybe they're not paying attention. Maybe there was a lag out or something. But this is a good opportunity for you to fight with other people. And I think that's something that I almost wonder if we may hopefully see more of, right, as time goes on, where if you're looking at kind of more small-scale battles, you might have this opportunity to develop where you will need to hopefully be able to identify when a fight is happening, even if it is small scale, but you can join in on that, and you and this person or you and these few people essentially know how to operate within that small scale battle, where it's okay, hey, right, even if we're not communicating, I know that I need to kind of be somewhat semi-close to you. If you're attacking someone, I'm going to focus that person down. And then maybe I'll start attacking someone, and then that person will help me focus fire, right? Those types of things where you can kind of do them where you've provided steps from your alliance ahead of time, which really every alliance should be doing, is taking time to draft up a mail, explain tactics when you're doing small scale, large scale. If you're just kind of ad hoc or it's just something that's happening in real time where you're not really prepping for any type of large scale fight, what should you be doing? And how are you identifying opportunities to take advantage of or just to participate in? So I think those are really important as well. So it looks like we ended up catching kind of the tail end of this one. You can see here that, man, they're actually running a pretty far distance here. Wow. So TLGX and I don't know where the other one was. CK, okay. So they're kind of north Sophrostia. Dang. So they're going pretty far to get all the way to MTP from where they're at. I mean, it's not incredibly far, but I mean, that's far enough. That's a long walk. So let's see here. I don't know if there's anything. Are they just... Ooh, here we go. So here's another one. Ooh, nice. Ooh, wow. This could actually be a better one that's happening right now. Oh, and it was right next door. I just didn't even see it. We got Rez going up against EXP2. Cool. Man, I thought we were actually going to be done there. Man, let's see what's popping off here. So we got EXP, REB. Let's see who else. And EXP2 is there as well. Cool. Man, I feel like we're kind of catching a little bit of the tail end of this one too as well. But this isn't bad. Yeah, not too many troops out here right now. Looks like they were building tower. Now you got EXP destroying about 12 minutes on that. EXP and EXP2 getting some nice replenishment here so far, which is not bad. I guess we'll have to see what's going to happen. So, like, in these situations where you have this person, Mao, and other REB, REZ, right, just RE family members, don't just go in like that. Because when you go in like that, you're creating... And, okay, nice heads-up play here from Don't Try. Yeah, definitely don't try in this moment. That is for sure. So, right, you don't want to overextend like that. If you're replenishing your supply line or your troop line, you need to essentially... And what we often talk about is you have to form staging areas, right? So, if you're the RE fam... In this situation where you're getting pushed, right, you would say, okay, well, let's form a staging area. Ooh, there's fighting happening over here. Nice. Let's see what's happening here. Wow, so that's EXO that's hitting, and we got RES fighting. Okay, cool. But this is what you would do, right? You'd say, well, okay, let's reform a staging line here on the bridge. Or better yet, let's go assist our family over here because we don't have enough players or enough legions right now to kind of stage a counteroffensive. So then you're looking for other opportunities on where can you engage to actually get favorable ratio trades. In this situation, that's what you could do, right? You could have the other units say, okay, well, hey, let's go assist RES, REZ fighting up here against EXO, right? You win this mini battle, and then guess what? Now RES is free, so they can come up here and help you, right? And it looks like REZ, looks like a few, so not too much here. Have to see... Oh, I see. So they're kind of already going through. Wow, you can kind of see those troops too as well. So let's see what we got. We have REZ, RES, and REB. Kind of interesting on how they're building this. If I was REZ, I probably would have built a little closer. The range is hard, but yeah, I probably would have built this flag maybe somewhere here in the corner. So that would have freed up a little bit more space for, oh gosh, whoever this is right now that I have to click on, because that's what happens when we have new accounts or new characters. Right, then that would have allowed for you to have RES go up the middle. And then I think REB was the other one. Then they could have went on the right side. I think you can get 3 over a flag. So again, right, that could be something. Well, let's see. Hang on, a little engagement going on up here. It's got EXP, EXP2, REZ. Okay. Yeah, so not too many. But I mean, EXP, again, this is a solid tactic, right? There's nothing wrong with going deep into enemy territory, especially if you feel like you can get some nice favorable trades. And there you go. You got the RE family kind of fighting off a few of the EXO units here, or legions, we should say. I mean, they're actually getting nice, decent replenishment right now coming up. I mean, again, it's not bad. Maybe we'll have to see if it is as much as EXP and EXP2. But in these fights, I just wouldn't even go. Right, if I was the RE members, I would not necessarily go into these fights right away. I would wait, stage here across the bridge, build up a little group, then do your push. As you're doing your push, then you can have these players start sending out their units, so they're not getting essentially what happened here, which was like a 7v3, 8v3, 9v4, etc. Right? This is where you have to, again, look for those types of quality heads-up plays on where can you really kind of take advantage, especially in these types of what we would consider to be kind of more small-scale fights, right? It really requires, just as much as the large-scale ones do, it just is going to be in a different way for you to have a good level of coordination, organization within your group, so you know, hey, well, this is a good time for me to push out, and maybe this is not the most ideal time for me to push out. You know, I think one of the biggest mistakes that we often see, or biggest hurdles that we see players make, is overextending. Right, going in and fighting when you don't have the full backing, or you're not doing well-timed pushes if you have groups, and sometimes just kind of going a little bit too deep if it's only you or you and another person. Right, it kind of sets you up to get pushed. Right, and I think this is another good example here where you have Gogs here and whoever else is there from EXP2 kind of pushing up a little bit on the bridge, but the RE family, right, not necessarily recognizing that as soon as they could have, where, again, if they were forming an arc, right, that's one of the things we often talk about is setting up your line or forming an arc line, so that way you're able to take less AoE damage from your opponents and you can inflict more damage and or more AoE damage onto your enemies, where you're not bunching up as much, right? Kind of being aware of choke points is very important, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're hiving or you're hurting your units too much. Unless you're going to commit and kind of do a full push, you're going to play the poke game. You're just going to send maybe a unit or two over at a time and just kind of poke the ones that are extending from their side, right? There's kind of 3 or 4, I would say, or take ways to play those situations out. Kind of getting the nice little small-scale bridge fight. But again, you're seeing here, right, EXP, this isn't bad. They are spread out a little bit here between the flying and them. And guess what? Right, they're probably going to end up doing a little bit more AoE damage onto these units because they're kind of fighting in a line, right? That's the thing. When you're fighting in a line over whether it's a ramp, if you're coming around kind of a choke that goes through a mountain range or a ravine, as an example, like we've seen in some others, or if you're fighting over a bridge. Tier of Harbin being thrown down there to get a little bit of healing. This actually was, I would say, probably a well-placed tier because you did get max heal off of it. So again, that was a good job there. However, this is the thing, is repositioning yourself, understanding, and again, focus firing down certain units at a time is going to be really important, right? You have, let's see here, EXP2. So hopefully they're either backing up a little bit and hitting rogue, right? That would be ideal, where you're, right, and again, there's 2 ways you can play this. You can back up as much as possible, Fleeting Beauty being thrown down there. Nice shadow games there. At least on it was okay. I mean, it hit 1 person. Typically, if you're going to do shadow games, you want to try and hit at least 2, I'd say, at minimum, to kind of break even. But really, to get good value, you want to try and hit 3. Counter shadow games being thrown down there. Another, big royal punishment damage there from Panda. That was pretty sick to see that. That was some pretty high negative purples. Oh, gosh. Now it's kind of... Oh, okay. Now they're actually getting hit from the side. A little flank here from REZ. Not bad. So, see, this actually could be an opportunity now for some of the RE players to come out of the cities and then kind of flank this way, or hit up or kill this Naru player there, and then start moving eastward. Another Shadow Games hitting at least 2 people. Again, that was decent. Now it looks like RE taking back a little more control. Personally, I felt like they just lost a few more units than they needed to, right? Again, nice to at least see that you're kind of getting at least more of a winning engagement here. So hopefully they're going to keep getting replenished, and some of their other RE players will start moving up. Don't really know what Bama's doing. You're getting a little bit, not a lot, of replenishment, at least on this line. But yeah, hopefully they'll be able to start focus firing these units down, which, again, they have enough people, but you got Passive Flora not attacking with their 2 units. EXP's getting replenished right now. I mean, again, this was an opportunity, at least, again, as if I say 15, 20 seconds ago, if not a little longer, where it did look like things were kind of going in their favor. But again, sometimes when you think about on-field tactics, right, it is important to know that these are things that you have to coordinate with your alliance beforehand, right? It's not something that, and again, we don't know, obviously, what level that they have done, but the one thing that you want to try and avoid is not going in with no game plan, right? Having a good idea, preparing your members ahead of time, and that takes a level of diligence. It takes some manual labor to do, whether it's writing a mail, multiple mails, if it's sending DMs to all the players in your alliance, reminding them, hey, please go and read this mail. If you're referring to a video and you ask people, hey, go and watch this video, it's going to help out. Right? There's things that people have to really put in, and that's the thing I really like about CoD, is that the barrier of entry when it comes to the quality standard of expectation for fighting and PvP in this game really requires every individual player to be more attentive, to be more alert, to be more engaged, and to actually be doing multiple actions while you're on the field, more so than other kingdom builders, right? So the expectation for player engagement when you're fighting is more than in other games. And that's one of the things I really like about CoD. Now, I do believe they can improve that. They can still develop that a little bit more. But at least for the most part, right, it is nice to at least be seeing this. So I don't know why REZ is... I don't know about this one. I would actually double back, fight EXP, pincer them, right, if you're going to have some other RE players coming up, or even if some of the RE players here want to come out and basically flank west to east. That can be an option. You don't want to really get sandwiched here in this case. And again, my view here, and this is kind of what I'll end with, is, fighting this early, to me, and I'm going to make a separate video on this, but my view on fighting this early is that it's kind of just pointless. To me, when you fight this early, all you're doing is having a higher chance of alienating and isolating players from enjoying playing the game just a little bit more. Because when you're going out and you're attacking them as early as you are, essentially within the first day or two, that can be a turnoff to players, right? Players want that opportunity to almost freely develop their account and then being able to choose when they go and engage and when they go and fight. The moment that choice is essentially taken away from them is when you really get into kind of a hard situation. Now, bear in mind, there will be moments and there will be times where the choice will get taken away from them regardless. But the point is that it shouldn't be something when we're talking about, which is a merged kingdom, it shouldn't be taken away from them day one, right, essentially, or zone one, in my opinion. And I think when you look at the entirety of the map, the devs have actually done a good job with Season 1 and some of the changes for them saying, hey, we're going to have 4 starting regions. We're going to have a neutral Zone 1, which is your Kaltia, Nivola, and Forgotten Lands, right? Like, I actually love this approach because in Rock, they actually had something where you would have a starting area and then you'd have like this middle area, right, which is kind of like a Zone 5, if you will. And then it was kind of this open area that 2 to 3 kingdoms could connect to before you then advanced to Zone 2. And so I just like that they simplified that here in CoD. They don't really have that. Not that I'm necessarily against it, but I really like the way they're doing it here, where they say, look, we're going to give you a starting zone, or you choose your starting zone, even though I believe you should actually have a designated starting zone. I think each kingdom should have a designated starting zone, in my opinion, because I think that will alleviate, potentially, a good amount, if not a lot, of fighting, of early Zone 1 fighting, and just promote more kingdom unity, right? The challenge is that because the game right now, from what the devs have come out with, is promoting more alliance focus, alliance via alliance focus, and not necessarily really kind of going in on something like kingdom unity, or just not really touching on it because they've mentioned that they want their game to be kind of more AVA oriented, is that you are not doing justice for those players that are in each kingdom that have been playing kingdom builders for, I would imagine some have been playing for a while, and then probably the majority of new players getting dumped into kingdoms, or not dumped, but getting populated into kingdoms from new downloads. That is something that's factoring into that as well, where you don't want these players, these new players especially, to have poor experiences by being subjected just to being attacked all day long, especially day one. Whether it be of a merge kingdom or of even a home kingdom. Right now, obviously, there's less you can kind of do about that in a home kingdom, but you have more, I should say, not as many options, that's what I'll say, compared to what you can do in a Season 1 Plus for a merge kingdom, which is establishing or setting designated starting regions for the kingdoms. And the thing is, you have to think about the better, more incentives you give to players to continue playing the game for as long as possible, to keep, to retain that activity, or to have good high player retention, right, and less turnover, that only will factor into a game's bottom end. You're going to get better activity, you'll get more promotion, and you're going to probably make more money. Why? Because the more players you keep playing, the likelihood of more people that will spend. Doesn't mean everyone will, but if I'm able to keep 10,000 people playing in a kingdom versus a kingdom that has war all the time and they only have like 1,000 or 500 people left, is there a chance that I'm going to have a higher percentage odds of having more people within that group of 10,000 that are going to spend versus those in that group of 1,000 or 500? Yeah. So again, I think if you're also just kind of thinking about playing the percentages, this is something that's really important. So for me, that's really my big thing here is as far as adjusting the way they go into Season 1 when it comes to distribution of regions and starting regions. There's other points I could talk about as well, but just for this one, I really believe that they need just to have designated starting regions, right? It doesn't necessarily mean, right, don't look at it as like, oh, you're just copying this other game. No, look at it as like it's a good idea and it makes sense, right? It doesn't mean that you can't improve or you can't build from it, but it is a good idea that will allow for the least amount of potential chaos within a kingdom and the most amount of player retention being able to sustain over a longer period of time, i.e., most importantly, in the beginning. So, anyways, that's my spiel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm going to end it out here. There's not too much more that I think is happening outside of some of the early fights, but was fun to see. Again, wishing SSS1-25 the best going forward. I'm sure we'll come back for some bigger fights too as well after things get a little more settled. So this was kind of more of an intro talking about what we'd really like to kind of see going forward for some of the changes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It really wasn't us commentating too much on the war, but kind of doing more topical conversations while we watched some PvP. So with that in mind, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the early fighting? What do you think about some of the changes as well going in? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense as far as agreeing, disagreeing when it comes to, yeah, this is something that's not really going to do the best job for keeping a lot of players around, or no, you know what, it doesn't really matter how much fighting that's going to happen. People are going to stay. No one's going to leave. Would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.